Greetings, all you lovely listeners out there on the tubes of you, and welcome back to another stirring installment of Disinformed After Dark. I'm Shane,
And I'm Michael.
and we're gonna delve into our bag of tricks here this evening for another, glorious run at Chuck Klosterman. And I'm sure that you're all just tingling with anticipation. But if you're unfamiliar with who we are and what we do, we are half
Yeah,
the
literally.
hosts of a very popular podcast called the Disinformed Podcast, which flees your preferred provider app every marvelous Monday morning. We talk about random esoteric nonsense and we lie about it. It's a lot of fun. But what we do here is we have a little decompression from the end of the episode and a special dedicated show for you, our fabulous fans here on YouTube. And so what we have done previously is we had been working our way through Chuck Klosterman's Hypotheticals, and we completed that run, but lo and behold, we are still now working our way through the Supertheticals box, which is a good deal more involved, which makes this even more entertaining for us. So, Mr. Miguel, are you ready for what Chuck's going to be winging at us this week?
I am scared, but you know what? You just got to dive right in, head first.
We're going to white knuckle our way through this, baby. We have some lovely artwork here, which I will try to show and get into focus.
Ooh.
Got a happy brain box there. So here's what we are supposed to be imagining. This is a hypothetical person, or a hypothetical person, as they indicate on here, I should say. So this is a 33-year-old person with no remarkable qualities or characteristics. Hi, John.
I was going to say me, but yeah.
I kid. No. Okay.
He's not 33 yet.
No. And he won't be if I have anything to say about it. So, 33-year-old person with no remarkable qualities or characteristics. They have recently been released from a radical psychological experiment during which they served as a test subject. You have volunteered to help this person recover from the experiment. Okay. I can already sense how well this is going to go, but... All right. Are you ready for our superthetical?
Yeah.
This person does not remember anything about the past 10 years. Though the experiment lasted only a few hours, it has completely erased the previous decade from their memory. That's 2 runs on that. It is as if their brain has been reset to the age of 23.
Huh. Like going back in time 10 years.
Under redundant, it says see redundant, as we've mentioned about Chuck previously.
Is he going to say what year the mind is set back to?
It's possible. You have been asked to help this person acclimate to contemporary society.
Oh, man.
You are given a folder that includes information about the world at large, current events that they've missed, new technologies, criminal presidents, etc., along with lots of practical data on their life. After scanning the information, you realize something troubling about this person. 5 years ago, they were abducted from their home in the middle of the night, tortured and assaulted. Hashtag trigger warning, I guess.
Oh, goodness.
We don't pre-screen these before we get on, which is an obvious flaw in the program, but sorry.
Oops. Uh-oh.
Okay. So abducted, other things, and forced to kill their captor in order to escape. The event was so disturbing that they spent the following 12 months in a psychiatric ward. The question: you are given no instructions about what to tell the person you're volunteering to help. The decision is yours, and your judgment is trusted. Well, there's the first flaw in our logic.
That's incorrect.
Would you tell this person about the traumatic episode that they experienced?
Do you want to go first, or do you want me to?
I have been doing plenty of talking this evening, so as always, I love hearing you at first blush.
Okay. No. Why would I tell them that? I mean, especially since it doesn't involve people that he would have known, or I think we established
presumably, hopefully.
Yes. It sounds like based off of, and of course I would check it to see, but if it was like someone that has no tangential, like no threads in this person's life before and definitely after,
Hmm.
I don't see the point in it. Like if it was, plot twist his ex, or some childhood friend or something that he knew, and then that leads to a natural question like, oh, what happened to this person, then maybe there might be some, backstory that I would have to give.
Right.
But if there's nothing that like connects, like it just happened and there was no connection to anything else in his life, I don't really see that. Like
There is an
maybe
interesting point, though, not to interject, but before we get too far afield,
no,
it
good,
does
go
not
for it.
actually give us gender here. It is
Oh,
just a
that's a fair point. Okay.
33-year-old person, no remarkable qualities or characteristics.
Okay.
So this is just an individual of your choosing. So if you
Okay.
want it to be male, I imagine that colors the perspective on, how one would deal with an experience like that. Because if we're talking about a female enduring something similar, they're at what you would have to assume is a physical disadvantage if we're going to make generalities here, not
Hmm.
to be
No,
incendiary at
yeah,
all.
yeah. We're
Just
trying to
saying
keep it general. Yeah.
being kidnapped is probably going to be a considerably different set of circumstances for either of the genders in very weird and wild contrasting ways.
Yeah.
So there might be something that fundamentally removes a lot of your self-confidence in that if you're a male, because the masculine quality is you
Hmm.
should be able to defend yourself, and presumably since they dispatched the individuals that had kidnapped them, you assume they had to have done something. So interesting, but so, and not to derail totally, but
No,
I
that's a
feel
good
it's
point.
interesting you went with a male and then how you would run it. So give it
I
that
think
perspective.
okay, that's fair. I think it's because when you introduced the person and we made the joke about John, I think
Okay, you
that's
just
what
saw
colored
John.
it. Yes.
Okay.
Sure. But no, I honestly, I unless there was some sort of like, I'm presuming that once he got out of the mental health facility after the 12 months,
Hmm.
there's nothing else that he has to do. He didn't have to go back every once in a while. He didn't have to do checkups. Like the 12 months, once that was done, that was done. So there is no, it is a completely cut and dry, separated aspect of his life. If
Right.
that's the case, then it makes it very, very easy to just not tell him. And, if people ask or something like that, it's like I mean, I could lie and say, well, there was nothing in there for the 12 months. And then, if someone else really feels the need to just traumatize this person again, then they can catch him up. But I don't see the necessity in revealing that sort of thing when there's nothing connecting him to modern day with it.
Right. Well, here's the other question. If this individual endured, a year's worth of psychiatric treatment, perhaps that is what prompted them to get into this experimental program, which then obliterated the last decade of their life.
Good
So,
point.
from my perspective, I'm thinking maybe they went into this program because they didn't want to remember that
Yeah.
thing. And unfortunately, as a byproduct, they then lost a far more significant track of
Then,
time
yeah.
than just the 5-year period, that would have covered that incident and then the fallout.
Hmm.
So, but then the question becomes, if you aren't privy to this and you don't know anything and they're still trusting your judgment, what if there are psychological sort of markers that are still present where they're afraid of
Yeah.
certain things and they have trepidations and that didn't get completely obliterated and they're curious as to why they're still having it. So there's this weird
Oh, yeah.
PKD-esque sort of trace of like,
Yeah.
I twitch going around dark corners because you've taken somebody else's life at this point as well. And there is definitely going to be something that lingers. So
Hmm.
if it's a total reset, then yeah, sure. Why would you ever illustrate that? But then if they come to you and say, like, I'm having really horrible nightmares about killing like a faceless individual, and I wake up terrified and to the point that I can't catch my breath and I keep having these recurring things and like how am I supposed to deal with life? I don't care about who Kesha is. Just tell me why I'm dreaming these things. Like I imagine you'd have to kind of address something about
Something
that.
about it. Yeah.
So it's an
Like,
interesting concept for, as what we're supposed to be doing here as a superthetical is like
yeah.
questions that you ask, why would I be doing this or not?
Yeah, because it even delves a little bit more if you want to even deeper about it, like the trauma and like PTSD
Hmm.
is that like you can even have a conversation because I'm not a psychologist, I don't know.
Hmm.
Is it purely based off of memory? If you could somehow delete that whole traumatic experience, would there be any sort of triggers that could still elicit panic attacks or any
Yes.
other aspect of that? So like that's an interesting conversation to
Hmm.
have unless it's already been had and I don't know.
Well,
But
there's a degree to which like selective amnesia does somewhat manifest in places, and there
yes,
are things
yes.
that people's minds actively shut out of their
Yeah,
remembered
repress
experiences.
yeah, but they can never like completely delete everything. That's why PTSD does occur.
Uh-huh.
So like that's the point that I guess like if it is confirmed that everything in their last 10 years is completely erased, like literally they went to sleep exactly 10 years ago at the age of 23 and they woke up and now all of a sudden like they were in a coma,
Hmm.
like, and there's no recollection whatsoever, then would there still be these sort of triggers if there were any to begin with?
Well, now let's put a different complexion on the matter, because I think a lot of this is I'm going to reiterate certain things that you're saying anyway, but I
Mhm.
think as I'm hearing this and I'm thinking about it, the thing that starts firing for me, what is the danger of this person having some retribution against them from the individual that they killed's family?
That's all. Oh,
There's
that's a
one
good point
thing,
too.
but then even worse, so if you forget all of this time frame and you think, okay, I'm just going to this, we'll call ourselves therapists for lack of a better term. If you're going to this person to help you kind of acclimate to reality again, having been in a comatose state, if that's how we're pitching this, and then someone walks up to you on the street and is like, "How are you doing?" Like, "Oh, well, I'm doing okay. I'm figuring out, I really appreciate the Offspring and their oeuvre, and all of a sudden, like I went down, and Pretty Fly for a White Guy was still a thing, but you're like, no, no, no. I mean, what after all that you endured with killing that guy that one time, and you're like, what? So then,
Yeah.
like, is the context necessary to explain that you're going to wander out into public and in a 24-hour news cycle, somebody who was held hostage and had to fight their way out?
Oh,
That's been reported
that's
somewhere. The internet forgets
true.
nothing. So then, if
Yeah.
that gets brought up and they don't know about it, imagine the response they're going to have to you of being like, why didn't you
Ooh.
tell me that this happened to me? Like, let alone any other things they might suffer repercussions physically, psychologically. Like, what if you withhold it from them and then they find out
Because
accidentally?
then it would be way more of a shock to their system.
Uh-huh. And
Ah,
then
that's
that might trigger that to pop back up, and then you've got a traumatic incident from that. Like, there's so many layers to that. That's
yeah.
like,
I
I
feel
would like to dismiss it out of hand of like, oh yeah, naturally I wouldn't tell them. But as I'm
no,
starting to
it's
spitball
yeah.
this, I'm like, yeah, this might be worse. So just say, hey, listen, there was a situation. You had a really traumatic incident happen. I can give you as many details as you would like, but let them kind of help make the
Yeah,
decision,
like, yeah,
right?
they don't thrust it upon them.
Yes,
Yeah.
because you don't want it to go right back in. But I mean, this is how you help to deal with trauma. And
Yeah.
I say this having had, as you've heard from episodes. Pardon me, folks. This we're talking all night, so I start
Mhm.
gargling my soul. Having had conversations with a show that you've heard me do with a mental health professional who talks
Mhm.
about unpacking trauma and things that you don't want to address, and it is very much a piecemeal act. Hi, Lauren, by the way, in case you ever see this. She drives a Dodge Stratus. Um, but these are some of the things I would think of like, you don't want to just thrust it on them, but at the same
Mhm.
time, I don't think that just being completely willfully ignorant of the fact that it happened as well is necessarily the best thing either.
Yeah, because you're right. Like the qualifiers I gave initially, like where everything is cemented and cut off,
Uh-huh.
that's not something that can happen nowadays.
Correct.
You can't just like uproot yourself, move to a whole new city, and nothing. Like you're a complete blank slate at that point. Like that
Yeah.
can't happen today.
It's not Breaking Bad.
Like exactly. So like it makes sense that those qualifiers that I gave couldn't apply.
Right.
So you would have to feed them whatever they're comfortable with so that they at least have context for when they, inadvertently Google their name at, 2 a.m. and see all this stuff that occurred.
Well,
So
then, like, you imagine they've probably seen counselors in the intervening time frame since they were
yes.
in a psych ward. What if you run into somebody who had treated you there? Like,
Hmm.
yeah, there's so many different granules that you can kind of hyper focus on if you want to. So I think, as a summary, dovetailing off what you're saying, but giving my own perspective here without
Hmm.
belaboring the point another hour and a half, I would probably ask them how much of it they want to have disclosed and just
Hmm.
mention there's something that happened. I want you to be cognizant of it because, but also if you're happy you've forgotten it and you're glad and you don't ever want to reconsider it again, but even then you're laying seeds out. There's a little pearl to that story, right? Of like, well, what happened to me? What do you mean? Like,
Yeah.
how am I supposed to cope with this unless I know? So let the person kind of be the arbiter of their own mental health
Exactly.
and
Yes.
determine what they want, but at the same time is like, hey, I'm here for fun. I'm here to tell you. So here, President Pig shit, right? There's my curse for the episode.
Well, we're far enough into the episode.
So you
We're
remember
good.
back in like the 90s, the guy that had the Apprentice show that was just a bloviating imbecile who just said, you fired a lot? He ran the country for a few years. We had a riot where people tried to overthrow our government. It's really weird stuff. We're just going to gloss over that, though. So anyway,
uh,
Beyonce and Jay-Z got married, which is just phenomenal.
absolute crazy.
Kanye and Kim Kardashian broke the internet. And by the way, yeah, that Kim Kardashian, that little tape that she was famous for with Ray J, gotten so much worse. Uh, like we're still recuperating, but she is a major public figure now, strangely enough.
Yeah, she's had multiple television shows, not just one, but multiple.
And
Yeah.
furthermore, her dad's now her other mom. And we're going to need to
Yeah.
address that. And man, think of the attitudes that you're going to have to acclimate this person to. Because let's just flash back to even 2012.
Yeah.
We were
It's
not discussing, gender as fluidly as we
no,
are now.
not
And
even close.
certainly,
Like we were only a couple years after like just being really deep with gay jokes. I mean, shoot, like you even look at something like Friends. Like there was whole plots that were just like about gay jokes.
uh-huh.
And Friends ended 2006 or 7 or something like
I'm
that.
going to defer to you on that one, friend.
I don't remember off the top of my head, and I don't care to. I can't be bothered to look it up. But like even then, you're just a couple of years away from that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, gay marriage wasn't like marriage in all forms. Same sex marriage wasn't even legal.
Mm-hmm.
Because
And
it was
soon might
2015.
not be
Yeah,
again.
and
So
yeah,
who knows?
exactly. So you. Man, I almost said you could just skate over that because it's not going to matter to
Well,
you in 5
and
minutes.
we existed in a world where we had our first black president. Like, there's a lot of
Well, they
unprecedented
were, yeah,
things,
they were. Well, they were already
we're
caught
working
up with
towards
that.
it, right?
Obama was he was finishing up his first term, so
Yes.
at least that.
And the fallout that would subsequently occur in the second term.
Yeah,
So yeah, there's a lot of very interesting climates that would
we're
need to
finally out of
explain.
Afghanistan.
And suddenly, it's like, so there's this other like leader of the Taliban that just got killed. I
Oh
thought
man,
I thought Osama bin Laden was the big guy. It's like, well,
it wasn't too long after you went under.
some things happened. Let's
Oh
explain
jeez.
what's going on with Russia. Long story.
Well, a continuation. It was only a couple of years after you forgot what's going on. We had Crimea. Oh,
Crimea River, in
oh,
fact.
jeez.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So
Too soon?
to tsunami, yes.
Oh no.
Yeah, there's an awful lot. That would be interesting. Just
That'd be depressing.
do I want to be the pop culture leader here and just talk about all the fun Marvel movies that we're gonna get? Because I mean,
Oh yeah.
we would have had
Avengers,
2007 to 2012. We would have
Avengers
had.
was 2012, right?
Yep.
I think,
So
yeah. So
trying to
you
explain
got a
phase
lot of new
2.
stuff. Yeah, phase 3, and now they're finishing up phase 4.
They're getting
I
into
think.
phase 4, I think.
Getting into phase 4. Yeah, because that's the multiverse stuff.
So
I'm still on phase, I guess, 3.
okay.
So I haven't even finished Endgame yet. So
My phase is still set to Sun. So
yeah. Oh, stun. Your phases are
Stun.
set to stun.
Yes, my phases
Okay.
are set to Stun.
Ooh,
I said
that's
son,
good.
but I'm trying real hard
I
not
was
to
like, wait,
die right now.
I got it. I got the reference. Ah.
Thank you. Um, in the Eddie Izzard phrase, my face is set to wobbling knees. Face is set to left the gas on at home. Oh, God.
Oh no,
So,
I
yes.
gotta go.
All right. I think we've belabored the point enough, but it's a fun exercise. And
Yeah.
always one of the things I will praise Chuck Klosterman for is it's evocative. It gets you
Mm-hmm.
thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly a lot of things to run with, but we went far outside the scope of what the question actually asked, but that's what we do
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, I feel like that is just something we always do. Is he's like 5 minute conversation. We're like, no, 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 stretch it out.
Yep. To this point, I offer this purely because I know it will help both of us to heal right now. But as we are missing several components of the show, but
Mhm.
Melissa and I had a conversation the other day where she's like, "I could just see you and Michael hosting a show." I
It
think the
it would
two of
be
you
it would be
could
fun.
manage it at this point. Now, not to say that we don't love and appreciate our other colleagues here, and we all contribute something very different and disparate every time. But yeah, I think we can do the spin-off Four Eyes and Beard kind of situation here to make it interesting if we need to at points. So if After
Yeah.
Dark turns into you and I just
I wouldn't be opposed to that.
espousing our bizarre perspectives and opining about the things that intrigue us about these little nonsensical questions, then I think we're okay.
That'd be fun. Yeah.
Personally, for all
Shoot.
7 of you that are watching, hi Lowell, hi Jen, nice to see you.
Oh, we're getting some better numbers. Our Finders Keepers episode is doing decently well.
You're not wrong, and your shorts are doing wonders for us here. So there's our plug for the evening. In case you have never checked them out, if you haven't been brought here by Michael's shorts, then there's something wrong with you sexually. But obviously, you can see that everywhere because Michael has laid a literal biblical plague of shorts on YouTube here that you've very likely seen. But if you haven't, go check those out. They're a lot of fun. And of course, we're back here every wonderful Wednesday doing our nonsense here on the tubes of you for Disinformed After Dark primarily. But also, we do Disinformed Book Club where we chat about mostly Stephen King material these days. But we'll get into somebody else's oeuvre eventually
Oh yeah.
once I complete my cycle. And once I break out of the chrysalis that is Stephen King.
We'll
And
go to his son.
I can talk about Joe Hill. We can make this work. Or I can talk about Owen King.
Is he also a writer?
Owen King has co-authored several works with his dad, including Sleeping Beauties, which is one of the ones that's next up on my expected list. So yes, and we, I'm sorry, Tabitha. I have not. I don't intend to be disrespectful. I'm not sure I'll be reading any Tabitha King material anytime soon, but who knows? That's dismissive of me. It's very sexist. It's not because you're a woman. I just don't have the time.
True.
I wish I did. Your husband's beating me to death right now with written works. Okay. So, in addition to that, of course, we have new episodes of our podcast Winging Your Way every marvelous Monday morning. So be sure to tune in there. Be sure that you are subscribed on your preferred podcast provider app. And of course, that's a good idea for Michael to tell you what to do here.
Smash that like button, ring the bell, hit subscribe, leave a comment, set phasers to engage. Ah.
Yeah, I see what you do. Beam me up, asshole.
Beam me up in my asshole?
Maybe.
Oh, God.
Depending upon how late in the evening it is, I guess.
Oh, no.
Slip it in gently. I'll think you're Kim Kardashian. Or I think I'm Kim Kardashian. How delightful. All right. Well, thank you all for being here as always. It's a delightful time when we're just trying to crack ourselves up at this point. And ultimately, isn't that what YouTube's for? Self-amusement and gratification? Wait, that's Pornhub.
Why not both?
Hey, find you a channel that can do both. He's a 10, but he likes Chuck Klosterman.
Ooh.
Sex, drugs, and Cocoa Puffs. That's the thing. But thank you, Chuck, as always. We know you're tuning in weekly, and it's very compelling stuff. This is what you hath wrought. And as always, our big love to Uncle Touchy, Mr. Kevin MacLeod. It's been a while since we've given you a shout out, but I know you
It's
are
true.
greedily watching all of our content, just waiting for your name to come up, pun intended. So, speaking of trauma that you need therapy to get through with, Kevin MacLeod. So,
McLeod.
don't act like you know how to pronounce that word. You're the one that got us into this trouble. I believe it's Kevin MacLeod. Yes. So
it's true.
I think that is finally going to wrap this little rascal up with a nice tasty rubber these days. So for Disinformed After Dark this week, I am Kevin MacLeods.
Macleolo.
MacLeods.
Macleolo.
Is that like a McCafe thing? Like kind of cream in the coffee.
Loads of cream.
Tons. It's a MacLeod.
Oh no.
Welcome to the McLeod. It's like a McFlurry, but there's so much candy we break the machine.
On purpose.
That's why you can never get one.
And I'm a disappointment.
Indeed. You're not wrong.
Zippity zoop, we're out of here.
MacLeod.